this moment on defence. He has been information and subject to security briefings that I haven't. And if he says that we have to increase our defences, if he says that the risks that we pose are that serious, then I don't just believe him, I support him. And we have a collective responsibility to rise to that moment. It's not just the responsibility of the new Defence Secretary, Dan Jarvis, or the Prime Minister, or the Chancellor for that matter. It's the responsibility of all of us to do what is the first duty of any government, which is to keep this country safe. For John,
where to start, isn't it? You know, talk about having a rant, but what's the point? There's so much wrong with that. What she's just said, so many things, isn't there? She trusts him completely, Starmer. She trusts him completely, you know. Of course, you know, the man, well, to my mind and to a lot of people, the man is beyond deceit. You know, he's incredible. But she trusts him. She trusts what he says about Russia. Of course, he's party to certain information, you know. I'm sure he is, and I'm sure he's told what to say and do. But, you know, the first responsibility, she says, old Nandy, Pandy Nandy, anyway, is the government is to keep its people safe. You know, this whole business about boarding this Russian vessel, they're making a big thing about it, you know. They can't do a sodding thing to keep this country safe, or they won't do a sodding thing to keep this country safe. With the thousands of rubber dinghies that are being they're not just coming across the channel, they're being brought in to the ports by the Royal Navy. It's an operation to escort them across the channel deliberately to flood us. But yeah, no, but just on what she's saying, you know, keep the country safe. Well, they've failed miserably, haven't they? Look at what's going on with mass immigration, mass illegal immigration, mainly. Let's look at it, you know. But it's their first responsibility to keep us all safe. But the thing is, I mean, I'm talking, you know, talking to myself really. But the thing that gets me is there's thousands of people that believe this shit. They believe what she said is true. And, you know, those of us that want to complain about the English nation being destroyed, that there's something wrong with us, you know, that we are somehow hateful. We've got a wrong opinion about things. And thousands of people seem to believe that. They're all for it. Well, they're all for it up until it affects them. And then they're just critical of the rest of us that do complain, and then they can call us names, you know. But it's astounding, isn't it? You know, they're bringing these people across the channel, and they come here. Why do they come here? Because they know full well what the country will give them, what they can get. Of course, you would never run a country like that. You would never run a country like we run this country, or it's being run, unless you wanted to destroy it. And that's the point. It is being destroyed on purpose, deliberately. But why? And by who? Well, there you go. That's what you'll never hear discussed on the BBC.